Good day. Welcome to another edition of the African in Americans podcast. With me is Worochi Ozaka.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, Worochi, just a few days ago, President Donald Trump gave his State of the Union address. And in that State of the Union address, he mentioned two very pertinent things. First, he talked about the Department of Government Efficiency. And he also talked about his desire to grab the Panama Canal back for America. I picked these two things because at the heart of these two major proclamations are African immigrants. One African immigrant has made himself much, much larger than any other American, and you will not even believe it's an immigrant. And that's Elon Musk. Elon Musk has become born in South Africa to a Canadian mother and a South African father, has become the greatest export from Africa to America, no less for his manufacturing prowess with Tesla, with SpaceX, with Starlink, and now his involvement in politics with President Donald Trump. And now that he's in a very critical part of Donald Trump's promise to America, which is to make the American government much more efficient, he has those who like him, and he also has those who don't like him. I don't think he's popular among the Democratic Party members, but he's an African immigrant, and he's playing a role far, far larger than what we know African immigrants to play normally. We are usually a quiet bunch, although we've always had these other African immigrants in positions of influence. But Elon Musk is unique in himself. But the second discussion that day, the second proclamation, which is to take over Panama Canal, at the heart of that, many people didn't even know that the deal had already been done. The Panama Canal, two major ports in the Panama Canal had already been taken over by an American firm from Chinese firm. Because here Trump says we gave this Panama Canal to the people of Panama, not to Chinese. And at the heart of that transfer to an American firm is a Nigerian immigrant. His name is Bayo Ogunlesi, and he is the founder of Global Infrastructure Partners. Quietly, he grew Global Infrastructure Partners. First, people got to know about Bayo Ogunlesi when in 2009, his firm, Global Infrastructure Partners, one of their big ticket acquisitions was Gatwick Airport. And with that acquisition, it became known. Since then, he grew Global Infrastructure Partners to become the biggest private equity firm dedicated to infrastructure. And recently, he got to merge with the biggest of them all, BlackRock. So now he's a member of the BlackRock board, and he's also the infrastructure arm of the BlackRock organization. So when it emerged that Bayo Ogunlesi and the Global Infrastructure Partners were at the heart of buying over those two ports, one facing the Atlantic and the other facing the Pacific from the Chinese firms, many people didn't even know that some African immigrants are playing in such very high stake politics, in high stake politics in America, especially in Donald Trump's America. So today we want to talk about these two, particularly these two people. Worochi, at least you are a Democrat with no regrets, but you are also an African. And before we even started, you told me you tend to like Elon Musk for what he's doing. Elon Musk is no fan of the Democrats, but what is your take
let me
on?
clarify that. Let me clarify that because again, I'm a Democrat, so I have to be very careful. So when I said yes, I like his work, I mean I'm specific to Starlink. I'm specific to Tesla. Okay, so he has this plan right? So let me even backtrack. The first time I ever heard of Elon Musk was the year we had those young boys. I forget the country they were in, but they went with their teacher into a tunnel, right? And I think they were stuck in the tunnel for
Oh.
days, right? And then Elon was he offered to send a submarine or something to that effect, right? That was the first
Mhm.
time I heard about him, right? I wasn't paying attention much to him or to his work. But over the past few years, I've observed, like I've paid more attention. Obviously, he bought Twitter, right? And then he's been doing work with the planetary, I believe he calls it, that he has a desire for a multi-planetary world, right?
Yeah.
Where we inhabit more than one planet. Currently,
Whenever.
we're inhabiting obviously Earth, and they're trying to see there's life on Mars. And for someone like me, first of all, I'm a stargazer in terms of
Mm.
the cosmos or whatever, like, looking at the planets. I tend to pay attention to the movement of the planets when the planet is doing this and that. So when you hear that someone is trying really hard to work on another planet outside of our planet, it gets my attention. And so for me, paid attention based on that. Now, when it comes to politics, because of my involvement in politics in the past, right? Like when I say my actual involvement in running for office as well, but my involvement in as a Democrat, the minute I heard that he was he was supporting Trump. I mean, it's how we are. It's politics. We don't like that, right? We don't want to associate with someone who's not on our. Not necessarily we don't want to associate with them, but we'd rather work with them on an issue that is beneficial to everyone, right? But so far, my feelings about what's going on in the White House, my feelings about the way people feel, a lot of people who voted for Trump have lost their jobs, they've been fired. There's a lot of stuff going on today that puts, I want to say puts people, is as unsettling, very, very unsettling. I'm very careful to qualify my words because again, I'm a Democrat and I believe in what I believe in. I can't be anything other than me, right? I can't. So when I speak about his work, obviously now he has another work as the DOGE somebody. I don't know what that work is,
We don't
but
even know
that's why I had to
what he needs in
clarify. I had
Doge.
to clarify because I do not support that whole thing going on there. I like his work outside of that whole thing. I like the work they do with NASA. I like all the explorations. I like the EV cars, right? The cars that, are good for our planet. I totally, totally support all of that. But I do not understand what's going on with Trump's government. It's been barely 2 months that they've been in power. And it's like people are unsettled.
Okay.
We wake up every day, and it's a new thing. People are rattled, people are unsettled. And so if he's involved in that, it makes me extremely uncomfortable. So I just
Okay.
needed to clarify that. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Um, at this point again, these are pertinent issues. These are issues that are current, and these are issues that affect a lot of people.
Correct.
As you watch this our podcast, if you have any comment about what's going on and what your own opinion about what Elon Musk is doing and what Bayo has also done, put it in a comment section. And in order to make this channel grow, we continue to ask you to subscribe, share, like, subscribe. We need more subscribers on the channel so that we can grow the channel and continue to talk about our African heritage. Having said that now, Elon Musk is at a position now where he's very much at the center of things with this government, especially since Donald Trump ran on the platform of making government more efficient, making saving dollars for the American people. So he is there and losing jobs, cutting off, reducing regulations. Those are what they promised. Making government more efficient. Those are what they promised. How he's going about it, I don't know if some people don't like it, some people like it. Only time will tell. People keep saying that his activity, they always reference his activity with Twitter, where he bought an organization for 44 billion and they gutted it out, took out so much of the staff, started functioning with just 10% of the staff. So he also believes that a much smaller workforce for the federal government of America will be more efficient and more productive for America. Whatever it is, it's only time that will tell us how efficient his actions are. But he really is, at this point, unsettling a lot of people. But you would admit, if you watch the State of Union address, the mention of the DOGE was one of the moments where Donald Trump got a lot of applause, and even Elon Musk was applauded. He stood up and he acknowledged the people. And when they did a poll, the poll said DOGE is one of the biggest bipartisan. Most Americans tend to love. 80% of Americans tend to feel that what he's doing is right. But even then, there's a lot of people losing their jobs, a lot of unhappy people. Yeah?
Was this a Quinnipiac poll or what? What poll? Who handled the poll?
No, there've been a lot of polls. You know, these polls, depending on who and the sampling, we really don't know because of how polarized America is at this point in time. Many pollsters, many companies, media organizations choose the polling agencies that tend to align to their own way of seeing things.
That was why I asked, because I had to find out if you say 80%,
yes, but even CNN polls, CBS polls, all the major media organizations have come out with polls that show that what the DOGE is doing is highly accepted by a lot of Americans. But I have
to highlight the fact that you are a Republican and you support them.
No, I'm not a Republican. I just tend to sympathize with what they are doing. I'm not a card-carrying member.
So that's why it's very important I clarify. As we go along, I'll just be reminding you that you follow them. So you agree with Donald Trump, you agree with Elon Musk. So I don't blame you for, I understand why you would go and say it's 80%. I, as a Democrat, do not think there was it, but it's okay. But I'm listening, though. We were saying.
Yeah, but you know, the purpose of our Africans in America, both the media organization, the online newspaper, and this podcast, is to highlight the positive aspects of what African immigrants are doing, how they're living their life, how they are getting along in America, and it's really
influencing things. Yes.
Yeah, how they're influencing things, because we forget that even though Elon Musk is the most visible African immigrant now, there was actually an African in Nigeria, in fact, Wale Adeyomo, who was the assistant treasury, assistant secretary of treasury, deputy secretary of treasury under Janet Yellen. And even though he had such a very high position under the Biden administration, we didn't seem to know much about him. He got lost under the big shadow of Janet Yellen. But we know now that Trump really means to take over Panama Canal, and he didn't have to do it now by force. He has had to do it by sales, because the Chinese firm that was involved in it just didn't want any trouble. I think C.H. Hutchinson from Hong Kong. They just like, no, we don't need any trouble. And here's a man who, in partnership with BlackRock, comes up and brings out $22 billion to make that deal happen. And if you ask me, you know, I now and then I run this list of richest African immigrants in America on my website. And I've always maintained that Ogunlesi is the richest Black man in America. I always maintained it because he had, with his global infrastructure partners and his private equity firm, at one time he was controlling almost $80 billion under management. He has since joined BlackRock. He has taken up shares in BlackRock, and now he's doing bigger things with BlackRock. And don't forget, just recently, OpenAI made him a member of their board. So you see, these are undercover, under the radar African immigrants that don't even want you to know that they are here. They don't want to know that they are celebrated. And this thing. But now I want to ask you a question regarding these big people. So Elon Musk is not particularly looking back home now. Recently, he had a spat where he has a problem with the South African government. You will think that is being part of this government will be good for Africa, but rather he brought attention to the white condition in South Africa. And now the Trump administration sanctioned South Africa. Can you beat that? And Bayo, on his own part, runs the biggest infrastructure private equity in Africa. And if we all agree, infrastructure gap is one of the biggest challenges in Africa. NEPA, no light, no electricity, ports, and everything. And we
Yes,
don't hear
yes.
him building anything in Africa. We don't hear him. Why do you think that even though they do well in America, they don't want to go back, they don't have this positive contribution to the development of Africa?
So you're saying that Ogunlesi does not have a positive influence? I think
No,
he
he has.
does.
I don't know. He may be doing it in his village, but I don't know. As much as I can call up a lot of all the things he does in America and in Thailand and Indonesia, I can't think of anything he has done in Ibadan. His father was a lecturer in the University of Ibadan. He has a heritage from Ibadan. But
So you do realize that inspiration goes a very long way. There's not one way to quantify inspiration. You're better off with great teachers and leaders who actually show you the way than you are with people who hand you money. So I'm saying that to say that if Ogunlesi hasn't gone home, I don't know much about his work so far. I don't know anything he's done, quite frankly. I know that he's in investments and finance. And so if he has so far been like, like been more of an inspirational person and has kind of like represented. I think he's done way that's a lot to do, right? I think that and I also think that his financial and financial investments or whatever have a great influence on Africa. Um, it's just I don't know directly what it is yet. We can't quantify it. We can't see it. We can't say this is what he built. But also, you have to process the fact that it takes time to build. So, if he's still generating his own income via his own investments, because from what we have heard, from what you shared with me earlier today, he has investments with Gatwick Airport, right?
yeah, he purchased Gatwick Airport on
Gatwick
using
and a couple of
his private equity.
other this things. So I think that his influence is strong. Like infrastructure wise or real estate wise, whatever he purchased over time will translate into our African system if it's not already affecting. So I'm beginning to look at investments not based on the locations where those investments are, but based on because think of all the Africans that fly through Gatwick every now and then,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So indirectly, he influences their lives.
It
You
gives
see what I'm
it
saying?
gives a lot of pride. It gives a lot of
It does.
pride.
It
Yeah.
gives pride, but and also inspiration. Not just pride, inspiration. Because a young boy hears that this man owns this, that, and he was able to come, put it all together based on. He gets inspired. You need leaders. You need guides. You need mentors. You need coaches. That's him just letting his life speak for you. So you know what I mean? So that's
Hmm.
why he's very influential, in my opinion. Now, when you compare him to what Elon Musk has done in Africa, based, like I would use more the tech and Starlink reference or like comparison. I think it's equal. I would say it's equal because his is financial investments. This other guy's own is tech investments and
Yeah.
all that. So I would say Ogunlesi is doing good. And then who's I don't know how old he is, but who's to say he's not going to do even more over time?
Well, he's approaching 70. It's around that 73. And you know what, right?
Tell me.
Now you've mentioned it, right? Do you know that the Starlink, Elon Musk Starlink is now actually it's doing very well in Africa because of poor telecoms, the telecom providers there. If you call people in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Malawi, in Rwanda, you will hear the big uptake of Starlink to bypass local telecoms providers, and that is despite the heavy cost of those things. Now
Mhm.
I want to pick on that your talk about inspiration. You are an entrepreneur. You are,
Mhm.
among other things, you you do so much, but you also have your own business and all
Mhm.
that. And when you're navigating the business environment in America, trying to understand the regulations, trying to get funding, trying to get people to even believe in what you're doing, and you hear that an African immigrant came. I think Elon Musk's first business in America was PayPal. People wouldn't even know that he was associated with PayPal, you know. And you look at all these things. So I'm feeding into your talk about uh,
Inspiration.
inspiration.
Mhm.
You 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 want to tell me now that you have inspired to move into Ogunlesi's.
Mhm.
It looks so challenging. It looks like, for those of us who are here like this, it looks like achieving that kind of stratospheric success in America is so frightening.
No, I mean, it's so you it is frightening, no doubt, but if you it's not really inspiration just to gain that level of not just attention or money or whatever. It's about the reach, it's about the influence, it's about the work you're doing. I mean, for me, I don't care if it's just $1 you make every day from your business or you make $5 billion. The fact is that you created something, you had your faith and trust, you put your faith and trust in it, and it is working out. I think that's kind of what these people's life stories, unfortunately, not these two people, because I don't know much about their life stories. I don't think if I were to say um, that I'm inspired by their stories, that it will be these two people, because I don't know much about them, quite frankly. But I was just talking on a general basis as a business person, right? Or as whosoever you are, if you see your mentor doing amazing, right? It inspires you. If you see someone who's in the same field as you, I decided to scrap the word mentor because they're not necessarily your mentors. Someone who's in the same field as you doing much better. It inspires you just because another human being decided to pursue their dreams. That's the inspiration. It's not necessarily inspiration that says, "Oh, I'm now going to become this." I mean, you aspire to be a billionaire. Who doesn't, right? But it's not inspiration to say, "Oh, I must be this." It's just the fact that another person set out to do what they wanted to do and they're successful at it. Guess what? It gives you the inspiration to go about your business, whatever your dream is. I don't care how small it is, little, or how large. It just, so that's the purpose they serve. Now, again, I'm being specific to these two men. I don't know what their life stories are. I know, yes, Elon Musk came and, did PayPal and did a bunch of other businesses and then, expanded and all that. I don't know about Ogunlesi, quite frankly, but I know
Um,
it's very impressive that he has focused on real estate and he's, bought up all those airports and stuff. We all need
yeah,
airports. We need airports. So I
yeah.
admire that, but I don't know his life story, basically.
Yeah, the thing I take away from what you are just telling me now is how
Hmm.
people should build slowly, right? Should add, because one of the things about America, probably everywhere too, is how you build trust, because as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to build trust. You need to be able to get people to believe in your dreams and your vision. It's a slow process. Even though we may be seeing them at this high position now, they
Huh?
actually started, like Ogulese was working in credit. I think it was in banking, although he's a lawyer, right? He was in banking for some time before he got
Okay.
into starting his own. He was in Goldman
His own
Sachs
business.
yes, so it's very critical. When we come here, one of the biggest challenges we have, because I'm writing a book on the diaspora, and I found out that for the entrepreneur, for the African immigrant, most times what we
Mhm.
have, we come here with just one of the three major capitals that make people succeed. Your human capital, which is your degree, your social capital, which is your social network, and financial capital. For us, most times when we come here, we really only hang on to our um, we only have our human capital. We have doctor, this one, the engineer, and all. But apart from the human capital, the other parts, which is like your that social, those networks that believe in you, invest in you, support you. We really don't have them. That's why we tend to lag, and that's why we end up going into professional careers so that you can be part of a system. And then the other leg also is your financial capital. This is where, and you know how it is in America. It's easy to get capital in America if you have a business going that people can see. You know, they can always give you advance you money and all that, and then you can grow your business and grow your business. So it has taken a lot of time, a long time for people for Elon Musk, Bayo Ogunlesi. You know, they built it slowly, slowly, and maybe that will also be the model all of us will follow. In Austin here, there's or in Texas here, there's I don't know, I think it's a national brand, a Nigerian brand that sells they sell like we call it ethnic food, right? Ethnic food is all this where you go, you see gari, you see eba, you see palm oil, you see shaki, you see all those things that are associated with us. And there's a company here called Southwest Farmers Market. And I hear they're in Maryland. The guy is growing it. It's in Dallas. It's in Houston. Someone said it's in Maryland. I don't know if it's in California or in Los Angeles and some, also possibly Atlanta. And you can see that this guy is iterating, is growing, is growing. He's nowhere near Elon Musk now. He's not- but you can see all the little ingredients that help entrepreneurs grow and big. And whenever those places have become meeting points, when I go to the Southwest Farmers Market, bros, how you did? Did you have like a business you patronized in Connecticut or in Los Angeles that is an African business that you are seeing grow slowly like that?
Oh yes, 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 yes. It's called Motherland. Motherland, I saw when she started. A lady from, I think it's Benin Republic. I believe it's
Mm-hmm.
Benin. Yeah. Oh, Ivory Coast. I believe it's Benin. But anyway, she, lovely lady, started with her little African shop, was, with our food. She bought our food stuff and all that. But guess what? This one expanded so much so that her daughter became her cashier. All her sons joined in the business. She expanded to open up another store next door to her store where she sold African fabrics and all that. I watched that store become so big. And what I love about her is when you go in there and you have an ingredient that you crave from Nigeria, right? She'd make, but by the next time you go there, even if it's a month or two later, she's made it available. She has pulled her sources. Like I'm telling you, there's no ingredient on the face of the earth that's not available in her store. So I've watched the growth and it's very impressive. And I like that you mentioned that, yes, building a business here for immigrants is not easy because of we us lacking social capital, financing, and all of that. But yes, yes, over time it takes grit. That's the one thing I thought when you were giving the description of what it is we need to succeed. Grit is the no I would call grit the number one thing. Grit
Oh,
is what keeps you going even when you can't keep going, right? And so that's the one thing that if you can possess that, I don't care how long it takes to build your business. It can take 10 years, it can take 50 years, but you will get there. You just have to keep going, like I said, right? And so yeah, there are many businesses. I've seen many businesses fail. I've had many things I've tried to do fail. You know what I mean? And then and you see me every day. I come into my room, I'm praying, I'm crying, I'm saying, Father Lord, are you really serious? This is really how you want this to go down? Because that's how I talk to God. I'm like, Father Lord, really? Father, okay, see all these people that started after me, they've all exceeded. And Father, you really want me to just, okay, no problem. If that's how you want it, I'll keep, I'm fine with it. So the point is, you get to those moments where you're frustrated. You can't even see, it's just there's no hope. But you have to keep going, oh. You can't give up
Yeah,
hope. Oh. You must show up every day because nobody sent you on that journey. Nobody sent you
yeah.
message. You have to figure it out yourself. So yes, back if I tie it to what you said about 7 minutes left. If I tie it to what you said about watching these men, that's why I said Ogunlesi is very inspirational because I'm sure he has books about how he started out. I'm sure he has stories about how difficult his businesses were. In the past, when I was in Nigeria, I used to love to read stories like books and
Biography.
biographies of these men, like what's his name, the guy that owned Virgin Atlantic, right? And all the I would
Richard
sit
Branson.
Richard Branson, I would sit down and read all their books simply because I wanted to just understand what it is that keeps them going. Look at him today. He has freedom, which is what everybody's striving for, right? Because he's built a lot of things. He said to you that he's built so many virgin things that did not make it. But the ones that made it. And so that's what I hold on to when I see these men. Say, okay, I know everything wasn't 100%. Not everything you did succeeded, right? And that's why I said, don't worry about the infrastructure, the presence of, oh, what he built in Africa. No, he's great, is what we need to see. He's great. Just the fact that he shows up successful, right? I want to hear your backstory because I'm struggling with believing in my own vision sometimes. And sometimes you don't need them to say, oh, take this money. Money will be helpful, but no, you don't need that. You just need them to show up. And all you need to do is see that they did this. And that's what keeps you going because no one knows your vision but you. No one knows your work. No one knows your desire. So they can't even come and fix it for you, help you, give you advice here and there. But just them showing up and you seeing them and you know that these people were at this place I was at some point and they made it. That's what works that's what helps us. So that's the inspiration I speak about. You have five
Yeah,
minutes.
it's a good thing you are mentioning the fact that they should be inspirational. One thing I'll tell you, let me just mention about these two personalities. They actually have di, 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 diametrically opposed personalities. Bayo Ogunlesi is very quiet, is known, is self-effacing. He doesn't give press interviews. He's very, 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 very quiet. It is almost impossible to get anything out of him, out of anything about him,
Really?
apart from what the statements by the board organizations he joins. It is very little
Okay.
you can find about him. On the other hand, Elon Musk is who he is. But what they do speak for them. And what they do should be an inspiration to those of us who come into America and are trying to make it. Because even though we try to it's so hard to do entrepreneurship here because their own methods are different. Like I said, your social network, that initial startup thing.
It's
Look at
difficult.
this podcast now. It's just between me and you, and it's something that we know can enrich more people, and we want more people to be part of. But we have to keep it going that way. This is just how a lot of things happen in America. And in the case of Elon Musk, I live in Austin, Texas. Here, I live right next to. The other day, I had the privilege of driving into the Giga Texas. But I live in Huddle also, and in Huddle every day, believe me, I see at least 100 trucks with Cybertruck, with Model Y, and I wonder. I mean, because I'm in manufacturing now, I'm like, how did this guy come from a place where there's no manufacturing, and then he comes and conjures up this? So it's very inspirational. I can't get over it. Every day that I pass on Highway 79 and I see trucks full with Tesla, Cybertrucks, Model Y, Model S, Model 3 Performance. I always marvel.
Mm.
So Even nowhere, no matter, and people forget, okay, even today as we are doing this program now,
Mm.
one of Elon Musk rockets blew up, and that's the eighth try of his space.
Yeah.
One of his space records blew up today, but he won't give up. He will keep trying. People forget that even before he succeeded with his the one that is the Falcon 9 rocket, he blew
Mhm.
up 4 times. He was almost broke before, you know. So
No, and I
grit,
told
I
you that
believe.
that part of his work impresses me. It's very impressive because I see the benefit to it. I have interest in anything that is outer
Technology.
worldly, not necessarily technological, but the fact that it's going into outer space, anything outer space, if I find very intriguing. And so I like that he's even making effort. I mean, a lot of people, if the Amazon guy, I think he also started to do
Jeff
launch
Bezos.
rockets. Things that to launch rockets, but I think what I'm trying to say is because those rockets are not cheap, right? Every launch is quite high, some millions of
80,
dollars, right?
$80 million.
$80 million. So it's not small money. And I don't know how many people care to invest their money in just, that kind of thing. So I appreciate because how do we advance humanity? It's by making these little efforts, by asking these questions, by making these efforts that move us one step closer to finding out where we're headed, what's out there, and all that. That's fine. So I give that to him, and I'll say yes. I really appreciate his work when it comes to that. I'm not even going to go into the purchasing of Twitter. I choose not to have a view. I choose not to have a view as to even the way the decorum on Twitter. I don't even care, quite frankly. All I'm saying is I don't want innocent people to go hungry. Okay. I don't want innocent people's jobs to be taken from them. I don't want
Yeah.
people to have high rates of anxiety to the point where now who knows how many people are committing suicide, or do you see what I'm saying? So that's my concern. My concern is more the population, not even the general population of people and the unrest that they will be facing based on what's been going on in there for 2 months. And that's what I'm going to say. I don't want to say more.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have come to the end part of this program. Um, as always, I would say, please help us grow, subscribe, like, share, improve our presence on the algorithm. But let
Yeah.
me use this as a final word.
Hmm.
Um, we have a saying in Nigeria. It's called Ogboju. You have gragra. Every African language has something like that. To come into an America and to create space for yourself as
That's
an African
boldness.
immigrant is very high.
It's translated